Welcome, everyone. Yusavale here. I know you've been waiting for this one. We are having an encore uh, presentation since, we got such a positive feedback from our last live webinar that we did. I have brought back Mr. Stephen Brewer. How you doing, Mr. Brewer?
Good to be here. Good to be here. Sorry to be late though.
Yeah, hey, it's okay. It's quite all right. Hey, your presence is, just you being here is a blessing, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here today. We're gonna have a conversation. Everybody was wanting to get an encore uh, presentation from our last conversation that we had about, bonds and securities, but I know you were kind of hesitant. It was kind of hard for me to get you back on again because you told me that you got some phone calls or something like that. What's that all about?
Yeah, I got a few phone calls from some individuals, upper echelon individuals, and kind of was concerned about the information that I'm sharing. And the point is that I spoke to them about that everything I talk about is public knowledge. It's not like it's being hidden. And they even had a little bit to say about you, and they like what you're doing.
Oh yeah. Okay. 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 That's good to know. That's good to know. I strive to I've been working hard, especially lately. With my school, and I've been doing a lot of research lately into I'm trying to bring some legitimacy to the space and get out of the this realm of conspiracy theory so much. Not
But
to say
guess
that,
what?
yeah.
That's the problem. You see, they don't want you to, they want you to leave the confusion there. Little did I know after these conversations that confusion was put in place some years ago. And not many people in this space, in our space, and private placements and monetization on the private side at the level that's there, a lot of people really don't want it revealed. And my conversation was primarily, yeah, you're doing a good job, but you're kind of the front leader of trying to clear up confusion because as long as people are confused, not many people can really articulate or move a little bit further in the space. And so not only did I get a call, I got a strong urging to not proceed. So I had to give it some thought and I had to weigh out. First of all, I appreciate what you're doing. One of the reasons I was willing to sit down with you is because there is a lot of confusion in the space that you're in, and more so that it's damaging people, it's hurting families. But the flip side of it all is the information that I have learned over the years and on the private side is important. It is important for a group of people to be able to not only better themselves, but to really understand that through privatization of money raises for projects, the ability to generate capital outside of the banking system is really, in my opinion, what's prohibiting, let's say, minority builders, minority developers, and it doesn't just have to be minorities. It could be any individual that are not able to take what has been put into place on the private side and elevate themselves. Not many people want this information out.
Wow. 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 I have had the privilege to be able to shadow you the last couple of weeks since we've, gotten back in touch with each other. And man, I have to say, just watching you work on the telephone and I don't think people really understand the amount of money we talking about. I'm like, you dealing with big numbers like it's not nothing. And but I'm
Well,
learning.
can I say something
Yeah,
about a
yeah.
big
Go ahead,
number?
go ahead, go ahead.
It's not so much as the number is big. You see, the work is the same. The only difference is zeros. And one of the reasons why individuals find it hard to get in this space because while the numbers are bigger, the work is intense and the reward is great. And so to learn, truly learn what monetization through the private side can do for one's household, for one's projects, for real estate, for businesses. I think there was a comment where a gentleman commented in one of your sections I read that he wanted to create a 144A for his music industry, which to me that was a novel idea to explore it, to really dig deep into it and understand that anything is possible on the private side.
And that's something that I have always said. I've always people have always come to me and try to tell me what you can and can't do, and I was like, "What are you talking about? What you can and can't do? It's private side. It's about agreements.
That's
It's about
correct.
if somebody agrees with the transaction, it can be done." And I'm seeing that firsthand. But there has to be some value there
Correct.
that has to be created.
Hmm.
And then there has to be terms that are acceptable between parties. Like I always say, it's called negotiable instruments for a reason. There's a
Correct. Hmm.
negotiation going on one side and the other. And in your industry, though, there is some compliance type of things that have to be considered
That's
when
correct.
making offerings for, bond offerings and things of this nature. Maybe you could elucidate a little bit on that a little bit.
Well, everything is tied to an indenture. An indenture is nothing more than an agreement. And when we talked about doing this segment, you had asked me to really expound on the private placement memorandum. So many people, according to what you said, that word goes around a lot.
Yeah. Somebody's always coming in my inbox. I'm like, hey, I got a private placement memorandum, and I'm like,
Well, and let's talk about that. First
okay,
of all, a private placement memorandum is nothing more than a document that creates the structure, but it's the description of the structure. Okay. When you look at the term memorandum, let's go back to playing the game of Chat GPT and understand you have Jarvis now.
uh-huh. I'm
But
loving my
well, let's just
Jarvis.
look up. Let's just go with the basic word memorandum. Let's look that up, if you will.
Memorandum.
Let's just go with that, and then we're gonna add private placement on it.
All right. And I'm gonna start putting. I could actually put on the screen and let everybody see what I'm doing, but I'll do it the next time.
Okay.
Memorandum.
Just the
Memorandum.
term memorandum in general.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, memorandum. What is the definition of random? Definition of memorandum. Okay, okay. Let's see. A memorandum. Okay. A memorandum is a concise written record, message, or reminder, commonly known as a memo. It is frequently used in business for internal workplace communication, in law to outline agreements or arguments, and in diplomacy to summarize policy positions. Common use of a memorandum. In business, an official but informal interoffice communication, such as a mass email or document, used to update staff on policies, new procedures, or project activities. In law, a written summary of the facts, issues, and relevant laws in case, often called a memorandum of law, or an informal written record or transaction or agreement. Diplomacy, an informal communication between governments stating a specific purpose, point of view, or an outline of a subject under discussion.
Okay.
All right.
So now let's put private placement in front of that.
Okay.
Basically, all this is a document that outlines what the individual is buying. The investor receives this private placement memorandum. It tells them what they're buying, what is owed, and what can go wrong. Those three components. That's it. So when you say in the sector, so many people say they have a private placement memorandum, they just basically have a description of their entity, their certificate, or their bond, whatever it is they structured and put together. That's what a private placement memorandum is. There is no value in that memorandum. It's just a clear distinction. In fact, it's not even a contract.
Well, let me ask you a question. When you look at something like that, what would make you, when you're looking at a memorandum, what is it that you're looking for? It would make you want to move on it, in some case,
Because it's a disclosure document. I didn't mean to cut you off, but go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's a disclosure document. All it does is describe the deal to me. So if I come to you and I says, "Hey, I have this deal for you," the first thing that you're going to do is ask me, "Well, let me see your PPM." And the PPM is just going to give you a description. It's going to break down what the deal is, what can go wrong with the deal, and what money is owed. What's the coupon rate? What's the maturity date? Those are the things that actually go inside this memorandum.
You know, and just hearing you talk about that, it kind of makes me think about an investment trust because if somebody's coming to me with a private placement memorandum, they actually want me to invest in something, I guess,
That's
right?
correct. That's correct.
Right. And they want and in that memorandum, is it going to evidence to me what's going to be my share or return on that particular investment?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Seems like I could probably do the same thing with a private trust or investment trust also. Um,
Well, absolutely. Again, you're outlining what you're presenting to an individual that's going to negotiate with you something of value. And would your trust document outline that?
yes, it would. It most certainly would. It would definitely outline. Um, it's an indenture agreement, and if you're going to do
Correct.
something like an investment trust, a private investment trust, it's going to outline or tell the pro rata interest. With an investment trust, you have trust capital units and units of beneficial interest, and the trust capital units are for the beneficiaries and their interest in the corpus of the trust, and then the units of beneficial interest are available to the investors, and it demonstrates how much they're going to get for their investment.
Hmm.
And it very sounds much very similar to that. The indenture agreement would outline it. I know I've looked at a prospectus before, okay,
Okay.
and
That
B424 prospectus, and like I was looking at Correction Corporation of America, and it outlined, and I found out it was a REIT, it was a real estate investment
right.
trust, is actually what they were. But
Now, just 1 minute. You had talked about this prospectus.
hmm
Now, there's a difference in the prospectus and a private placement memorandum. The prospectus is on the public side. The PPM is on the private side. You see, when you are operating with securities that are dealt through the SEC and you have institutional buyers,
hmm
and that's in the public, that requires a prospectus. Whereas on the private side, and the government doesn't see the PPM at all, there's no disclosing it at all. However, the prospectus is disclosed. So what you were reading was a disclosed document uh, that has to be presented, has to be uh, filed with the SEC.
Okay. So that's public. Prospectus is public. Private placement memorandum is private.
Correct. And so, in this sector of individuals wanting to have private structuring, that's why you simply deal with private placement memorandums and anything that protects the private side. Now, let's make no mistakes. Any bond, any negotiated instrument of value is a securities, period. The difference is that the government allows you to operate in the private, but it's done so based on regulations that the government set forth, being Regulation D, 506B, and 506D. Those are exclusions from you having to operate within the public. So, in this space, in what you teach and what you structure, these are the vehicles that an individual would use in order to create capital raises or negotiate whatever instrument that they have on the private side. And yet, this PPM is basically the disclosure document in private.
Wait a minute, but you said there are some exclusions.
Okay.
Okay, what would constitute an exclusion? I mean, I'm sure I just can't engage in any type of activity that I want to.
No, you
So,
cannot.
all
You
right. So,
cannot.
what in what area can we operate as with an exclusion? What
Well,
constitutes that?
first of all, there is a default rule with any securities. I don't care what you call it, your certificate, your bond, it is a securities. And it may not be sold or it may not be transferred for value unless it's registered or exempt. The exemptions fall under the Securities Act in Section 5. Okay, let's go to Claude again. And I'm trying to take my time so that I don't rush through this. Let's look at the exemption, Securities Act, Section 5, and just read that portion of it.
Exemption of Securities Act, Section 5.
And this exemption keeps us private.
Okay, okay,
So again, there's a law, the United States government, that allows us to operate in the private.
okay. Let's see, it's pulling up. Okay, let's look and let's see.
Now let's take a look at. You're going to go to Section 4A2.
Well, I'm letting the chat pull it.
Okay,
I'm pulling
let's
it
let
up.
it pull it up.
It's going through all of the checking everything and compiling everything right now. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna start putting this on the screen for everybody. Let me do a screen capture real quick, and
All
I'll
right.
add a screen in here so people can actually see what it is I'm.
And
Uh,
again, this is a government exemption for the private.
okay. All right. These rules could provide additional clarity. Okay, I'll look at the specific. Okay. It's taking me through it. Let me just do it, I guess. It's trying to give me the best possible answer.
This tell you, give you a simple answer on what the exemption is, what that Securities Act Section 5 is.
All right. Okay, there you go. So let's put it up on the screen. All right, so everybody can read it. It says Section 5 is the registration requirement. The relevant exemptions generally come from Section 3 and 4 and section rules such as Reg D, Reg A, crowdfunding, Rule 701, and Rule 144.
Okay. So we're going to stick with Reg D, basically rules of 506B and C and Rule 144A. All of these allow you to structure these uh, private orderings, private placement memorandums, bonds that are negotiated, capital raises, but you're able to do this in the private. None of this information is submitted to the SEC.
It gave me some additional information. Let's look at this too. It says Section 5 of the Securities Act generally says you cannot offer or sell securities unless the offering is registered with the SEC. An exemption from Section 5 means the seller does not have to register the securities offering as long as it fits an allowed exemption. And that's the question I was asking. What was
There
the
you go.
exemption?
There you
Uh,
go.
the SEC states that every securities offer or sale must either be registered or rely on an exemption. Common exemptions include number one, Section 4A2, private offerings,
Hmm.
meaning transactions by an issuer that do not involve a public offering. Regulation D, common private placement exemptions, including Rules 504, 506B, and 506C. And Regulation A, regulation crowdfunding, interstate offerings, and Rule 701, other specific exemptions listed by the SEC. Simple takeaway Section 5 requires registration unless a valid exemption applies. Even with an exemption, the seller still cannot make false or misleading statements.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely.
mm.
So what is the point of it? The government sets up and acknowledges private. If you know they acknowledge the private sector, this is not anything new to the government. But what they do is you operate within their rules, their guidelines, and their regulations. Those exemptions are there for a reason. And so, what your listeners should want to do is to learn how to operate within those parameters.
Let me talk about that for a second. You
Okay.
know, because I'm all on the internet. I was on the internet today reading some posts on my Instagram, and it was just really interesting. And you know, it's just a lot of individuals, they don't understand public and private. They
Not
don't.
truly, not
They
truly.
don't understand it, and they're not trying to understand it either. They just want. It's almost like it's too difficult to read and study, so it's much easier to say you don't have jurisdiction over me.
Correct.
And you know, like for instance, the word corporation. Okay, the United States was formed about 200 years ago, and when you look in the Federalist and the Anti-Federalist papers, the word corporation is there. But when you look in a Black's Law dictionary from that time, it does not mean a corporation like today that's formed for profit or gain. It means a body politic, but you can't tell them that. They're not going to go into the dictionary and look at that. I I've tried to explain this word person. This word person, I'm not that person. Well, I'm not a corporation. You know, they're saying, well, you know, there's a corporation. I'm not a corporate entity. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not what a person is. You know, artificial person, a corporation can be a person. Okay, but that's not all a person is. A person is a device that the public uses to classify conduct. You know, it goes from the definition, the statutory definition, into whether it's an artificial person or a natural person. And then they determine the capacity of the person.
Okay.
Capacity is very important because it determines what you can do and what you cannot do.
Okay.
Okay. And then once we can determine what you can do and what you cannot do, that conduct is going to get classified. And once that classification occurs, they determine rights, liabilities, and duties. Now, it's a formula that they use. And I've tried to introduce it to everybody, but they want to continue regurgitating this misunderstanding, quite frankly, by I'm just going to go on and say what it was. It was these white patriots from 40 years ago, okay, who were farmers and things like that. These people had a very rudimentary understanding of law. And a lot of people come into this space and they get indoctrinated into something that has been regurgitated for 30 years, and it spreads and it appeals to people who
But
are
don't you think it fits their narrative of what they want out of life?
what is that?
Well, some people need the crutch. Some people need the I guess you say the peace that will allow them to hold the grudge, to break free, because they feel like they're owed something. They feel like they've lost something. They feel like there should be some type of uh, accounting for their injustice. I mean, when you look at it in reality, all mankind have faced injustice one way or the other. And I don't want to get into that.
But
What I guess what I'm
no,
trying to
I agree with you. There has
Mhm.
been injustices, but I
Yep.
think that in the United States of America, um, and I don't have a problem with injustice.
Okay.
I've been through the criminal justice system. I understand injustice. I
Right.
understand, you know, hell, I was wrongfully charged with something. You
Right.
know, we've encountered these things, but what I'm trying to say is exactly when I
But I'm
read
just
what the
talking about
law
as
says.
far as their willingness to stay on that side. That's what I'm trying to get to. Because what you're doing and have been doing is sharing with individuals the structures of law and how corporate actually operates and allow you to operate in the private, but in a systematic way.
You know, it's called private ordering, is what it is.
Okay.
You know, it's a private ordering
Hmm.
does not mean that you can operate outside of law. You
Correct.
know, it means that the law has carved out an area for you to operate in. That your private rights have been preserved to you within a certain space, and you have to
Correct.
understand what the demarcation line of that space is. However, what I'm contending with is they think they can do whatever they want to do. I'm a sovereign, and the government can't tell me nothing. And so I started to really kind of and I'm glad you're here, because we're talking about this because with the commerce, because I've always been on commerce. I
Correct.
teach secured party. It's always been my contention that all this is business, is commercial in the first place. But in the old school, we weren't saying that you don't have uh, jurisdiction over me. We were saying that this is it's a
Hmm.
commercial matter and we can discharge it. And we know that you're trying to probably securitize this in some kind of way, or we're trying to get the bond or call the bond for something like that. Just something to that effect. It was
Right.
always something
Hmm.
commercially related, and that's why I want to talk about this today because a lot of people, they're trying to monetize instruments, birth certificate bonds, and things of this nature. And it's
Well,
just like what you're saying.
so let's talk about the birth certificate bond. I can't say and I won't say whether they can or they cannot utilize this private structure for that. That's not for me to say. Here's what I can say is that there's a process in order to monetize any bond, which is a security. And you can do it one of two ways. You can take it public or you can take it private. There is not a third option. And what I'm here to do is to explain to your listeners the two ways of doing that. Now, it would take me much longer to explain the public side because now we're getting into the SEC. We're getting into a list of, like I said, prospectus. You're getting into,
Is it preferable to avoid all that if
oh,
possible?
most definitely, most definitely. Because of the simple fact that on the private side, your private placement memorandums simply have to correctly state the facts. Now, I want you to understand this. It is easy to write a private placement memorandum, but it's hard to defend it in court because it's so flatly written. But that's the difference in a private placement memorandum and a prospectus. And now, when you're actually getting into real private placement negotiation, monetization, and selling of bonds, there's still a criteria that's placed to protect the investor. And that's why you have what's called Regulation D, 506B, and Regulation 506C, and then Regulation 144A. All those are categories that are provided through the federal government and the SEC, but yet there's still a standard that you have to meet in the course of utilizing one of those provisions for an exemption.
So basically, what I'm understanding is there's really no way of just operating free of government regulation in this type of, and to some degree, just I'm talking about 100%.
Well, I'm gonna say yes and no. I'm gonna say
Okay.
yes, you can, but there's consequences. Let's just say that you willy nilly put together a private placement memorandum. You have an individual that accept it and take it, and it's not properly stated, it's not properly written. There's repercussions. So in order to just freely do it and think you can operate that way, and the person on the other end, if he accepts it and negotiates it, absolutely you can freely do that. The values placed by the negotiation, the holder of the document and the buyer has to come to that conclusion.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, they want to monetize a birth certificate.
Okay.
All right, privately. Okay, why would what conceptually how could it be presented with somebody would conceptually accept something like that?
Now I could give you a hypothetical on that.
Yeah, give me a hypothetical. That's what I'm looking for, a hypothetical.
I could come to you and I could say, Joe, I want to monetize my birth certificate. I'm going to create a private placement memorandum and I want you to value this at $1 million dollars, and I want to pledge my birth certificate myself as collateral. And I'm going to give this a 5-year maturity date at a 9% interest rate, a coupon. If you take it, provide me with the money, and I have a 5-year window to pay you back, of course it's negotiable. It's a security, it's a certificate.
I've said that too, but that sounds like slavery.
I can't get into what it sounds like, but if you wanted a hypothetical situation, I can give that to you. I am not going to sit here and say that there's individuals out there that don't know how to monetize their birth certificate. I will never say that.
I've seen back in the day where people were trying to do it. I've been in it at this a long time, and they had groups of people that were actually trying to place birth certificates on private placement trading platforms. I believe it's like $100 million to be on one of those platforms, and that's where, like today, if you look at people and they have like,
So, are you talking about these high yield platforms that you see all
yes,
on the internet?
yes, one of those high
Which
yield platforms, and what it is that
do they even understand what a high yield platform is?
I'm not sure, but I remember when I first started doing this, we would do the birth certificate bonds, and we were doing for like a billions of dollars. But then everybody settled on this one number of $100 million, and what I found out was the reason for that is
Mhm.
because the government allegedly was placing these bonds on private placement
Can I
platforms.
share something with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
When I first got into the private placement trading platforms, there were medium term notes out there. There was the MT99, MT760. Uh, these items are freely floating. If anybody have an opportunity, in fact, I tell you what, let's go to chat.
All
Let's
right,
work chat.
all right, all
Let
right.
let's pull up high yield trading,
High
which
yield trading. All right, let me pull it up first.
high yield
What
trading.
do you want me to ask it? High yield trading.
Ask chat to tell you and explain to you what
High
high
yield.
yield trading is.
Explain what high yield.
And I would
Explain.
encourage your listeners to do the same thing.
Okay, explain what high yield trading
And we've lost
is.
millions of dollars chasing the high yield trade.
Millions of dollars
Millions of dollars.
chasing high yield trades.
Millions of dollars.
Because they give you the impression that that hey, you just get the $100 million, you get on the trading platform, and
I've had individuals that would charge me a fee to lease what's called a standby letter of credit,
yeah,
which is a fraud.
I remember something like
A
that.
standby letter of credit being leased is a fraud. It is not for your listeners. If you're thinking about leasing a standby letter of credit, that is a fraud. And if they're asking you for a fee up front, you're going to lose your money. A standby letter of credit cannot be leased. It cannot be transferred because banks clearly do not do that. And I'm telling you firsthand. But go ahead.
Okay. Let me see. To keep it simple, I'm still waiting. I think I'm gonna have to pull out my. I'm gonna have to pull out Claude. Let
Yeah,
me,
go to
yeah, let
your
me go to
Claude.
Claude because
Claude's really gonna talk about the high yield trading.
yeah, because ChatGPT just like taking forever. Okay, so high yield trading. Okay, let me see what it said right here. All right, let me put it on the screen for you. All right, so it's right here. It says, okay, high yield trading means trying to make higher returns by trading riskier investments. Usually, it means high yield bonds, also called junk bonds. They pay more because the borrower is more likely to default. Higher yield equal higher possible profit plus higher risk. Also, be careful if someone promises guaranteed high returns, that is often a scam. High yield trading usually means trying to earn a higher than normal return by trading or investing in riskier securities. Most commonly, it refers to high yield bonds, also called junk bonds. These bonds pay higher interest because the companies issuing them have a higher risk of default. In simple terms, high yield equal higher possible profit, but higher risk. Be careful. The phrase is often used in scams called high yield investment programs or HYIPs, where people promise huge returns
Hmm.
with little or no risk. The SEC warns these are often frauds. So the simple answer is high yield trading is trading risky investments for the chance of bigger returns,
Hmm.
but it can also be a red flag if someone promises guaranteed high profits.
So now let's get this right. Standby letter credits are real. Medium term notes are real. Typically, these instruments, when they're if and when they are traded, these instruments are discounted at a certain rate. It's not a heavy discount. I give you example. We were working with the bank in Switzerland, and we were negotiating a medium term notes. It's called fresh cut. And what we were asking the bank to do, which people in this industry do, uh, well, let's do this. Look up medium term note so that the listeners will know what a medium term note is.
Okay, let's
And
see.
it's pretty much like what it sounds.
All right, let me. What is a medium? What is a medium
Medium term note.
term note? Y'all getting to watch me uh,
Become a
study.
expert here.
Let's see. Can I?
And again, we're talking about bonds and we're talking about transactions. And again, these are items that take place on the private side.
It shouldn't take. I don't know why chat is taking. I must got it put on something where it's supposed to
Deep thinking.
deep thinking. Yeah. Let
Mhm.
me see. Yeah. Let me get instant. All right. I gotta see that. What is a medium term note? I got it. I see what I was. I had it on that deep thinking.
Yeah, get out of the deep thinking
Yeah. Let's see.
because it's real simple, the term.
All right. Put it back on the screen for you.
And while you're looking at it, basically, let your audience know.
Check. 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 Okay, we are back, y'all. I don't know what all that was about. I don't know what that was about. Maybe it was the folks. I don't. I couldn't. I couldn't for the life of me figure out what was going on with that. But we are back, and we're going to continue our conversation. I'm glad y'all hung around and were patient while we got this back together. Okay, so let's continue. Where were we?
Where were we? I told you they didn't want you to know this information.
I'm like, man,
Oh,
that was
wow.
crazy. I don't know
Wow.
what that was all about. I have no idea what. Hey, look, y'all, I have no idea what that was about. That's the first time ever something like. I have audit problems, but I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
gonna be honest.
well, that's another signal. I guess I'm gonna sign out and get out of here.
I
I
can't do it
don't.
yet.
Hey, I don't know. I don't know if them letters outside waiting on us.
But let's
Oh
continue, man, talking about
man.
these bonds.
Oh, that was a good one.
Well, let me do this. Let me look at some of these people in the chat real quick.
See what they got in the
Somebody
chat.
said it's never been denied to me by government security bird bonds. They don't like the fact international covenants of rights states bonded servitude is a form of slavery. They state the commercial. Now, if I just
Come on now, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it.
does anybody understand what that? Do anybody understand what was just said?
Don't fall for it.
See, this is what I gotta say. When you try to sound like you understand this particular, that's why I have the gentleman on here today because you don't understand. Do you understand what you're saying? I don't understand what you're saying. It's never been denied to me by government security bird
Well,
bonds.
let's give him an opportunity to put back in the chat what he means.
All right, I'll give him another 10. Let me see this next one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And let's make sure the mics are up so that we can make sure everybody can hear us.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know how to work my equipment. There's not nothing wrong with my equipment. This wasn't anything wrong with my equipment. I know how to work my equipment. Is that it's a security? Can you have an insurance policy and contract terms for equity? Yes, giving closure to what's taking place to the accounting of such a bird bond. That's the cuse of the problem.
Well, let's try and break that down.
I don't understand what he's talking about. I can't understand what he's talking about.
Well, let's try and break it down. What was he asking again?
It's a security. Can you have? This is why I tell y'all to put your stuff. Listen, man. Listen. This is why you need Chat GPT.
He says your mic is not working.
You take this. No, my mic is working fine. I'm looking at it right now. Levels coming through. Everything's coming through.
Well, you got people in the chat saying
it's coming. No, it's coming. My mic is working fine. My mic is working fine, man. I can see everything. It's coming through. All right, my mic is working.
Well, you got everybody saying on chat is not.
No, you can hear me through this mic. What do you mean you can hear me through the other mic?
Yeah.
You can hear me through
your mic. Can you take this mic instead?
No, I can. I'm looking at the levels. I don't know what they're talking about. I'm looking at the levels right here when I'm talking. It's coming through.
It says loud and clear. They say loud and clear. They can hear you now. They can hear you now.
I'm looking at the levels. Oh yeah, it was. Did go out.
Okay. Let's get back. Let's get back to the money.
All right, go ahead. You explain it. I'll work on it.
Okay, so.
Go ahead.
The question was what in reference to the security birth certificate and value?
Right. Mm-hmm.
What was that question you read?
The question was, what I was trying to tell him was, it might be my mic cord. I think, let me just switch mics. Let me switch mics real quick. What I was trying to say was.
But they said they can hear you loud and clear.
Y'all can hear me loud and clear now?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. They say you're good.
What I was trying to tell him was if he'd take his statement and put it in Chat GPT.
Correct.
And then tell ChatGPT to rewrite it because I don't understand what he's talking
about. Let's do that. Let's encourage him to have him rewrite it, and we'll come back to it.
Yeah, rewrite that.
In fact, I'm willing to come back on another segment and we discuss it because I don't want to discredit anyone here and what they're asking.
I'm not trying to. I'm not. I, don't, I mean, I'm not trying to discredit him or anything. I'm just like, what?
Just it's just the way he's trying to word it, and we'll get him to come back and do that. But let's get back to our topic if we
Okay.
can. We were discussing the medium term notes, and we were basically talking about high yield trading. We were talking about how many scams are out there, and individuals that's in the private sector will surely come across brokers out there that want to monetize these medium term notes or standby letters of credit. And so, for the purposes of letting individuals know from experience, to really be wary of those individuals. Now, in the course of getting back to how these bonds are structured on the private side and the exemptions that go with them, I wanted to talk about three of those exemptions. Uh, Rule 506 is one of the exemptions, 506B, 506C, and then Rule 144A. Now, let's say that your listeners are wanting to, or some of them are in the development. I'm just going to give a hypothetical development scenario. This is a perfect bond structuring or buying a house or anything of value that they're able to create these bonds and actually have the capability of interacting with an investor, with a buyer that's willing to take the PPM on its face, as long as everything is actually adding up the facts, value, and exactly what they're buying. In the sector, this field, we originally started the conversation on the PPM. What was the misconceptions that we need to clear up as it relates to these exceptions by the SEC?
I don't have any misconceptions because
No, not you. You were saying that there were some in the space.
Their misconceptions. Okay, from what I can see, check. And then my microphone, I guess, is still not working too good. But I guess y'all can hear me though. From what I can see, a lot of people they have this impression that you can just put together a bond and offer it, and somebody will accept it.
Mm-hmm.
In some kind of way. I put together a bond and something without any collateral behind it, anything collateralizing it, without any type of security attached to it or anything like that. That's kind of like what I see in this space. Is like, that's why he brought this in, because people think it's I remember back in the day, right? People used to throw together let's see, no fault. People used to throw together these silver bonds. And what they would do is they'd file a UCC1 and they would put a picture of the silver, a picture of the silver, and attach it to the UCC1, 21 pieces of silver, and file that with the UCC1 to show that they had the silver. And I was saying, well, I was thinking that maybe if they use something like a safekeeping receipt and deposited the silver somewhere, could that safekeeping receipt be used to collateral? Let's say they have an abundance of silver on deposit at a bank or something like that. Could a negotiable safekeeping receipt be used to collateralize something? Or?
Well, let's talk about the safekeeping receipt. Who issues the safekeeping receipt?
Financial institution, a reputable financial institution.
Means that they have on hand, that they validated, that they trust the value of the silver on hold. And when they issue that safekeeping receipt, that is a recognizable document of their perceived or their perception of value. So they would do what with the safekeeping receipt at that point? Let's talk about a safekeeping receipt. We had a client that had an art collection,
Mm-hmm.
Very valuable art collection was transferred to Brinks, California, and the transferring entity provided a safekeeping receipt with its value. Yet there was another valuation that had to take place because there was a private placement memorandum put in place. There was a buyer. The document provided clearly what the transaction would be, but then there became an issue of value based on a new appraisal. The question then was, how good was the safekeeping receipt? What was it for? Well, a safekeeping receipt basically lets an individual know that an institution have on hand these items or these goods that are going to be held until they're transferred. Do you think the value would stay or maintain itself once a new appraisal was put in place? So what is the real position of a safekeeping receipt?
I would think that you're saying if there's a new appraisal, would it be would it change? I mean, I guess that would be from the perspective of the auditor or the appraiser of the security that
But
would make that determination, right?
correct. But in your mind, as a new buyer, placing value on a good or an item that was in a safekeeping location, a safekeeping receipt was issued. Isn't it possible there's some hanky panky in the middle in transfer? Possibly, right?
Would a reputable financial institution issue a safekeeping receipt if there were no um, legitimate secure, like for instance, of a safekeeping receipt? And I've never done this, so I'm
Okay.
just speculating, so I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had let's say you had a silver,
Correct.
like you had a lot, let's say you had $1 million worth of silver.
Correct.
All right, and you want to put it in a somewhere, let somebody hold it for you.
Brinks. We'll use Brinks, for example.
Brinks, and they're going to issue you a safekeeping receipt.
That's correct.
Okay.
Based on validated value.
All right. So how would there be any hanky panky in that if this is a reputable financial institution and they issue you a document stating, yeah, we are in possession of those assets? What I don't see how any possibility of hanky panky could exist.
But if I bought it and there was something in the process, who would then be at risk? If I bought it basically sight unseen, but I bought it based on the safekeeping receipt. I'm only getting to that to get you to think back to your question as the individual utilizes a safekeeping receipt with pictures. That's all. I'm just trying to.
Well, I didn't think that was anything legitimate anyway. You know what I'm saying? I said, you're going to put some pictures with it, but I was just doing that to illustrate the lack of understanding of securities and how they operate and value, how value is determined and what makes something legitimate. I mean, this was a big practice about 15 years ago.
Right.
You can go into the UCC. Anybody can go right now into the UCC in Kentucky, and you can find evidence of where these guys have, done things like this. Put pictures up and try. Okay, I got 21 pieces of silver, and this is supporting my bond. I got a silver bond.
Correct.
And this is going to support my bond. I said, that's ridiculous, man. Just put a picture with it. It was just ridiculous.
But in all fairness, they were trained that way, or they took the information that was provided them and they took it as real. That's the reason that I'm even here, is because you basically asked me to talk to your audience about the actual structures that are in place. I see a few of the comments of individuals that have comments tied to still yet the birth certificate.
Let's see. You say you got comments? Right.
Well, I believe the gentleman tried to make his comment a little bit more understandable.
I was simply filing an understanding to set a limitation, a claim of life response to a legislation claim against me. Claim of life is crap. Why do y'all? This gets into this sovereign citizen stuff. They came up with this claim of life because you're assuming allegedly you're dead, you're lost at sea, or there's because they got this thing, the Sesticate Act of 1666, which is not anything having to do with America, where you've been lost at sea for 7 years, and well, now I'm alive. These are these concepts that they have that I'm contending with, and it is just taking over. That right there, that they talk about that claim of life, that goes back, I think, to David Windmiller, and goes back about in like 10 or 15 years or something like that. This claim of life, that there is some sort of assumption that I'm a dead person because they think that the straw man is a dead entity and they are a real living soul.
Okay.
So they're making a claim of life in order to let the government know that to rebut a presumption that I'm not that person. This is really a I'm not that person argument.
But maybe this individual have the ability to process the certificate in the way that they think. I can't. I
understand you can't determine, what they can and can't do on the private side because it's all about agreements.
That's correct.
If you find somebody who's going to agree to
Absolutely.
it, anything is possible.
And they may have already experienced that and have been with people that have experienced it. And the point that I'm making in this, and I think in our last conversation, was the fact that there are very few people that basically live to tell about these hypotheticals that they claim have happened or come through. But again, I think as we stick to what our purpose is, really our purpose was to share with the audience exactly how the private side works on structuring these bonds. Now, if they have the ability to take their birth certificate or whatever bond they put together, whether it's the International Bill of Exchange that I used to hear about in the past, which doesn't exist, they can use the private structuring and the private ordering. And now the next complication will be who's going to take their private memorandum, respect it, accept it for value, the description of value, and monetize it. And so if they're able to do that through the proper procedures, because at the end of the day, there's still two scenarios, public and private.
And I understand that, and I understand that on the private side, it's all about agreements and so forth. But there still has to be some sort of, in my opinion, there has to be some sort of legitimacy. Like for instance, you just can't interpret things. And did my mic come back on? Did my mic come back on? I heard my mic back. You just can't interpret things. I don't know. Did my mic come back on? It still didn't come back on, huh? Yeah, my mic come back on. Nah, it still didn't come back on. But I don't know what went on with my mic, but it has to be some sort of legitimacy, I think. If you're going to claim something, it has to have some sort of basis in law and fact.
Correct.
Okay, I read the law all the time. I have never seen anything remotely that is legitimate about a claim of life, because it comes from a misunderstanding about the word person.
Correct.
The word person is and that is the main thing in this space, is a misunderstanding of what a person is. And so they think it's a dead entity, and I'm not that person, and this is what attaches jurisdiction of the government. And they don't understand that jurisdiction attaches just simply by you being within the state or you involved in some conduct. And that's the problem I'm having, is because they don't take accountability for their conduct. They don't think that their conduct is responsible for jurisdiction attaching. They think that the attachment of jurisdiction is simply by them of accepting, allowing some presumption to exist that they and the straw man are one. And I understand it, because I used to think that myself. We all thought that because we were all indoctrinated into this. However, with the advent of AI and our ability to do deeper dives into law faster and go through case law and different things like that, and the history of all this, I synthesized all of these different things from the clerk's practices and everything. And I just came, it's just ridiculous. It's really the vestige of a people who were not very learned within the law.
Well, let's do this. Let's give them their belief. Let's let them have their belief, and it's fair for them to believe that way because that's the information that they have processed, and that's the life that they want to live. I think for the listeners that you have that want to understand the true
Right.
private, I think we owe it to them to finish this conversation based on individuals that's trying to operate within the private structuring.
Okay. Well, here's a question for you.
Okay.
I made a claim that security to that. I made a claim to that security. Can you make a claim to a security that you're not a party to? How would a person be a party? This is where we're going to get into some deep understanding of your expertise.
Okay.
Right.
Well, so let's talk about, can you make a claim? We just talked about a lease standby letter of credit.
Okay.
That because an individual under a standby letter of credit does not have the right to relinquish their right to the standby letter of credit, it is not something that you can sublease the way that the standby letter of credit is written. If your person who made the comment could be a little bit clearer,
I can explain it to you clearly. What it is okay, when let's say you catch a criminal case.
Okay.
All right. A bond is created.
Correct.
Okay, a bond is created. Now, do you have a claim on that bond?
The individual?
Yeah, the individual. Does he have a right? Let's say that the government, let's say you violated a statute. Okay. The charge created a lien, created an obligation, okay, which anytime there's some sort of debt that can be converted into a security, if there's some sort of IOU or something like that. So that now they created a debt, they changed it into a security.
Correct.
Do you have standing to make a claim on that? And I'll take it from the position.
I'm going to say yes, you do.
And why is that? Explain it to me why you would have a claim to it.
Because you are a party to the debt. You are the originator of the debt. If you have a criminal case and there's a bill due, you are the holder of that bill. It has been tethered to you. Now you have an obligation to rectify that bill. So by you being the individual that's creating the debt, then there's an individual that's fixing to negotiate that debt, but typically with the government. The government bypasses individuals because they do not know how to make known their interest to the court. And if it's not properly made to the court, then the government has the right to overlook it. The government has an obligation to make good on it when properly notified. And you still have the right to rectify it the minute that you find out. That's why I would encourage individuals to go to jurisprudence to find out that process.
Well, that's what I say too.
And it's in there. Now, one individual, I think a comment was made that we're relying too much on ChatGPT law. Well,
and that's an illiterate response. And forgive me, I am going to be harsh on the individual. It's just an individual that doesn't understand how ChatGPT works. Do you hear what he just said? ChatGPT law.
Correct.
ChatGPT doesn't create law.
But can you explain what ChatGPT does?
ChatGPT actually synthesizes what is available to it. It has access to the law, and it can go through all of the law and read case law. I can read an entire case in 5 seconds and pull out all the equitable principles.
But let's be fair. Let's be fair on the comment. The comment says that one is listening to ChatGPT, but are you able to now take the case law cited and pull it out?
Well, first of all, it's an insult to me because I spent 20 years studying the law without ChatGPT.
Okay.
Okay. Number one, I read cases. These guys don't even read cases.
But isn't it fair that if brings it up. It has a citation.
It does have a citation.
So now, based on what you just quoted or what we just went to Chat GPT, that same individual that made the comment has the ability to do what? Fact check.
And they won't do that.
But let's let's do this. Let's encourage them to fact check, and then let's make a commitment to come back and discuss their fact checking.
We can give a good example of that. Let's take the right to travel cases, for instance. They're not going to read any. I will challenge them to present 50 right to travel cases, and in every single one of them, it will say that the government has a right to regulate your right to travel. However, they won't read that case.
And I understand, and I respect.
I respect this. They'll say that chat, you can put it through chat. So just to prove to them this, I did a video and I read it, no Chat GPT or anything.
Okay.
And I read the entire case and broke it down. And attorneys looked at me and applauded me for it. And I said, like, look, I've been doing this before.
I agree. Yeah. And I respect their thought on Chat GPT. A lot of people have a problem with it, and I respect that.
Now, most of the people that have a problem with it are only in this space. Everybody else is making millions of dollars with it.
Well, I could say that you're correct, but let's do this. Let's get to back to our main point. But we think the comment from the gentleman on Chat GPT law. But I would encourage you, if there is something that you feel that we are misrepresenting, I would really love to see you take an opportunity to pull the case law up for yourself. There's too many capabilities outside of chat to pull up the same citation.
We read case law every night, and we read the entire case in SBC University. We read the cases. And
yes, you do.
Students see us.
Yes,
we only use Chat GPT to pull out the principles, but we read the entire case and we discuss the case. Every week we read cases, and these people don't read any. This dude in the chat right now,
it's okay.
Will quote no existing cases. How many lawyers just got in trouble for doing that? And it will quote no existing cases. Well, if they got in trouble, they got in trouble because they didn't fact check themselves.
They didn't fact check themselves. In fact, when Chat GPT came out, there was a lawyer who submitted a brief to the court.
Right.
And just assume that Chat was right, when in fact Chat is not right. I work with Chat GPT, Claude, and Perplexity on a regular basis, and I'm consistently fact checking behind them. So I respect the comment of the individual who said that, and that's a valid point of concern. However, in your case, which I truly respect, is when I come in contact with you casually, you're reading law, you're fact checking your information. So let's give kudos to that individual, and we'll go back to our topic of conversation.
Well, I wanted one more thing. Like he said, nobody's getting emotional about anything, bro. I don't know why they go to this emotional thing. This is an intellectual discussion. It's more so frustration because you keep trying to. What it is that the AI is tearing down a lot of their lack of understanding in this space. So they choose to attack the AI as if, oh, you're depending on AI. And it's an insult to me because I'm like, look, dude, I got about 20 years of videos and audios on the internet when I'm reading all of this stuff.
Right.
You're the one who's not reading any of the cases or anything like that. I'm reading the case and using Chat GPT, and I'm telling you that you're wrong. It's not that they want to say that, well, you're depending on AI technology. AI is just a tool. No one's getting emotional on it. It's just frustration by you keep on saying this as if I don't know this. I use Chat GPT every day. So if it does give you an incorrect response, obviously you can press it. I'll give you an example, like separation of powers, like with the Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, we have a guaranteed Republican government. Okay. If I say, because we're talking about public and private, and that's essentially we have a guaranteed privacy, which is why they give us these exceptions. I'm understanding why they give you these exceptions and things, because they got to carve out a private space for you to operate in.
Absolutely.
All right. So, so I talked to Chat GPT. I said, well,
but let's answer the real question. Why do you think they carved out these exceptions and the private structure?
Because you have to have a right to privacy.
Correct.
You have to have a right to privacy.
That's the
However, let
and
me
that's the
ask you,
foundation of the Constitution, right?
it is. But let me ask you, do I have a right to privacy in an unregulated space?
Right to privacy in
And meaning, like what we were just talking about, you said there are rules to what we're dealing with the securities.
correct.
Well, do I have a right to actually engage in this activity outside of that? I mean, in other words, the government can't say anything. If two individuals get together and I say, okay, we're going to do something outside of any this Rule 144A or any of that, do I have a right to do that?
Not when it relates to a bond.
Then do
securities.
I have a right to privacy?
Yes, you do. But there's the catch. That now follow me.
All right.
If both individuals are totally willing to stay outside of the court system in the event of a default, absolutely. But if the party who feels grieved or cheated or defrauded decides to call them on the matter of the private placement memorandum as it was stated or described and is not as such, and he decides to get remedy, then no, you're not staying outside of that. But if they're not, if there is a agreement of mediation that's private, then yes.
If it's contractual, and that's
correct.
what it is. We have a guaranteed in the like the contract clause is what I heard this was general. He said this. He said the problem with the civilians is they don't understand that their rights are enforced through contracts.
Correct.
And that's what private ordering is. It's contracts, private trusts, private member associations, and unincorporated private associations. These are the tools of the private side. But anybody can Google this right now.
But the purpose of the PPM, the Private Placement Memorandum, is to describe all those issues as you're going to negotiate. So to answer your question, it could be a yes and a no at the same time, depending on if there's any disagreements or arguments or claims, how is it handled?
In other words, is it handled publicly or privately?
Correct.
Okay, but if it's handled publicly, then you automatically have to abide by the public rules. But they'll say, well, you don't have jurisdiction over me. And what I try to tell them is that the public has jurisdiction over anything public.
If the individual, no matter what position they take as far as jurisdiction, they enter into an agreement, an indenture, they have a document, which is a private placement memorandum. No matter how they slice it, it's a securities. Okay. No matter how you slice it, there has to be remedy. Now, you have guys that will handle their remedy another way in the streets. That's truly private.
That's truly private. It is truly private. That's what contracts allow you to do.
Right.
And the contracts allow you to, you make the remedy in the contract.
Correct. But I don't know anyone that can run over anyone in anything and not see consequences. I
don't either.
I just don't see it.
I've never been able to see it, and I don't understand why they see. This is the thing. He's trying to say somebody's emotional, but what it is they don't want to accept that. A lot of them they can't comprehend what they're reading.
But let's give them that. Let's not take it from them. I mean, they have a right to that thought process. They have a right to live within that space. I think what you set out to do is to help the individuals that want clarity.
Right.
Correct. And I know that invitation to me was for that very purpose.
It was. Yes. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I won't ever try to take a person's stance from them. I won't go up on that hill and try and talk them down. They deserve to be right where they're at. But let's focus on the individuals that I've seen in your comments that really want to understand.
Right. So let's say machine learning, a core branch of it. They talk about algorithms. AI is purposely misleading the people.
Fair enough. Let's give them that.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I came up in the space studying the user, so I know how thorough he is with case law, and I understand how to read case law. That is not what I'm arguing. And that's absolutely correct, because if the only way you would know that GPT is misleading you in case law is if you've actually read the case.
Correct.
That's the only way you would know that it's actually. Let me look at the camera and say that the only way you would actually know that you are being misled is if you've actually read the case. So if you read the case, okay, I'll give it to you. You know, I read the cases and I use AI, but I read the cases too, and I do it in front of my students. I have a classroom full of witnesses that attest to this, and I've never experienced what y'all are talking about.
Do you know what Google is driven by?
AI right now.
But I wonder if they use Google. Wouldn't that be misleading?
If they used Google,
Yes. I mean, Google is driven by AI and always have been from the date it was
yeah,
launched.
Google is driven by AI right now.
So we'll let them have that. But
Right.
like I said, I would prefer to focus on.
Well, I'm looking for these are the questions. I was just looking at the
Okay.
I'm looking for a question. It says, with, uh, it says, we're trying to look for y'all questions about securities. How can I get into what Mr. Steven is doing? What would be some good reading material that I can get that would be a good primer for getting into the securitization of instruments? That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Believe it or not, Youssef has pushed me to have a live webinar in about 10 days. And he'll be able to post a link for those that want to join that webinar, because it is a space that I believe that individuals that want to change your path in terms of truly understanding privatization and monetization as it relates to real estate, as it relates to business. These are real life lessons that the underserved community don't understand. It's a tedious process. It can be overwhelming at times, but to truly learn it and educate yourself is truly important. So I have agreed to put together a webinar in about 10 days, and that information will be posted.
Okay, it said for back office recognition, one must have the following: one, SAM's UEI registration number, ISIN number, let me see, and MIC numbers to be afforded all CUSIPs to be invested and tracked for the enjoyment of the proceeds.
When he makes reference to the ISIN, which is an international identifier, what particular securities is he making reference to? Because I can only speak within the bounds of securities. I can only speak in bounds of what I know.
But this is the example of why I did call you here, because you're going to get like comments like this, like chock full of comments in the echo chambers.
Okay.
And when you read it, like I'm very, very familiar with CUSIP numbers and ISIN numbers and
the CUSIP is a U.S. identifier.
Yeah, Committee on Uniform Securities Identification Processes, and it's just a what? It's a what are CUSIP and ISIN numbers?
A CUSIP is a U.S. securities bond identifier. It doesn't create any value. It's just an identifier. And an ISIN is an international bond securities identifier.
So it's able to track the security.
That's correct.
All right.
Within formations such as DTC, Gray Screen, Euroclear, Bloomberg.
So what does he mean to be invested and tracked for the enjoyment of the proceeds?
Not sure, but if you can ask him to be a little bit thorough on his comment, maybe we can answer it.
He said, if we Google who is the most educated group of women, it will say, I don't know what that's about.
Fair enough. We'll give him that.
I don't even understand how that's germane to what we're discussing right now. Listen, I know when it's misleading me because we're not going. I'm leaving.
Let's just leave. Yeah, let's leave those alone.
Let's see. You have to know the information we're interacting with. Let's see. Right now, the government has hijacked by dictators. Right now, the government has. We know it has been hijacked by dictators who are incorporated in autocracy incorporated. But you use ChatGPT, brother. We are seeking true. Okay. Machine learning, a core branch of AI. Let's see. I came up. Let's see. I'm looking for something. They on the AI stuff right now, and how the government is corrupt. And I don't know where this the most black women are the most educated came from. I ain't even understand how they came up in the conversation. Let's see. Let's do this. So I want to enter a bond. Okay, here we go. So I want to enter a bond on. Okay, so I want to enter a bond on a case Take me by the hand and teach me how step by step. Well, uh, I think what they're talking about, I'll try to address that.
Yeah, you'll have to address
You're
that
talking
one.
about a case bond, and you're more. You can, if you want a step by step. That's what I have a university for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to take you by the hand step by step right now and explain that. But you're talking about a case bond. But I will give you some information if you'd like to read it. You can read creditors and their bonds on your own, and it'll explain those things to you if you choose to do so. And if you need to be elucidated any more on that, then of course you can sign up to my school, and we have videos.
And you do cover those pretty
well.
well.
We do cover that. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I will sign up. You're welcome. Should we speak about Chris? It refers to court cases. They talk about the court registry investment system. It was discovered. There's a document floating on the internet. I'm gonna see if I can find it and put it on screen while we're talking. Maybe you can talk on it a little bit. But it's the court registry investment system. Is
correct.
And they have this document that was discovered,
which is controlled by the judges.
Controlled by the judges. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it.
Basically, the judges' purse.
Yeah, here it is right here. I'm gonna put it on screen for everybody so y'all can see it. I'm gonna put it on screen for you. Let me pull it up on the screen real quick. This is what they're talking about right here. They're talking about the court registry investment system. Let's see. Let me put it on the screen. Oops. All right. Court bonds, CUSIP. Let's see, images. I just pulled it up. Okay, here it is right here. This document was allegedly, it was, I don't know, I came across this document probably about, 15 years ago. It's been on the internet for a very, very long time. And I'm gonna put it on screen for everybody. So everybody, I know we got some new people kind of wondering what they talking about the court registry investment system is. So let me put it on the screen. And there we go. All right, so you look right there. This is what they're talking about, the court registry investment system. So if you look at this, right in here, these are court cases. And they list the CUSIP number. Here, see, it's a CUSIP block right here. It's a treasury bill and so forth. So it's an asset report. Now, this looks like a legitimate document that came from the court. And I've kind of looked at it. It's dealing with minors too, real minors, under the age of 18. And it has amounts attached to this. And it looks like they have monetized each of these cases. And they're making, see right here, these minor case information. And they have the case file number right here, balance date, origination date, principal, and interest is gaining interest. What would that say? I don't know. What would you make of that?
Well, first of all, the court registry, again, is a budgeted on the budget line for the that's of course granted by Congress, and it's all tied to the bond structuring as cases come in. There's a lot to it. Trust me, is a whole nother topic. That's a
whole nother topic.
That's a topic that you could get caught up in. And again, in order to truly break it down, it's going to require information that breaks down the structure of it in terms of how it was set up, how's the funds allocated, how does it fit in the budget, and then how it's actually tied to. And that is definitely another topic for another time.
Yeah.
Very good question, though. Really think that's something that individuals need to dig a little bit deeper into, and you will find what it means for you. And if you have a case in the court it definitely has a bearing on your case.
I don't doubt that they are monetizing people. You know, that's where
Hmm.
most of that's where I focus on. That's why I
Hmm.
never came off of Secure Party. All these other
Hmm.
processes that come, I don't pay them any attention.
Well, it's I can tell you factually, you can find it, the process, the procedures, and the redemption in jurisprudence. I can factually tell you that.
Yes, and even if in Georgia, if you want to check out, you know, OCGA 1711-1 and
Hmm.
OCGA 1711-4, when you're convicted of a crime,
Hmm.
a lien is created. And, you know, that right there is, to me, it opens, you know, I put, I'll give you an example. You talk about AI. Okay, so I'll tell you what I did. Okay.
Now we have a question I think we can talk about here. We have I'm sorry, do that.
Okay, well,
Do that. I
all I was going
apologize.
to say is what I did with, you know, in that particular situation with OCJ 1711-1 is I took that statute and I uploaded it to the AI. Then I took the clerk's praxis, I uploaded it to the AI. I took the Financial Accounting Standards Board Statement number 95. I uploaded it to the AI. I took Modern Money Mechanics. I uploaded it to the AI. I took the affidavit of Walker Todd. I uploaded it to the AI. And I had a couple of other documents that I'm not going to tell you about because I'm going to leave it for my students. Say some hard hitting documents. And if you want to know about them, you can come to SBC University tonight and probably find out about this stuff. But I asked AI to synthesize all that and do comparison analysis. That's what I use the tool for, to take information, synthesize information, do comparative analysis, and I will make the decision on where I'm going to take the information from that point on. But I know what I'm looking for, and the AI is helping me find that, is what
Hmm.
it is. It's a research tool. But what were you going to say on this question right here?
Well, not that question. You have a question. Someone said, "How would someone starting a parent corporation or holding company create bonds or get their security agreement monetized for LLC contracts for said corporation?" Now, again, this is comes down to a private structure. If an individual has a parent corporation, he has to first create a private placement memorandum. It has to clearly state what the LLC contracts comprise of. He would then create the value of those contracts. He then has the ability, based on the value which is outlined, he then has to have a participant, a willing investor that's willing to provide him monetary or to monetize his contracts based on three factors: the amounts, when are the contracts completed or when are they due, what's the value, what's the remedy. The private placement memorandum will cover those three items. An investor now reads the private placement memorandum, and if they're satisfied, there's a monetizing that can take place. So, to answer that individual's question, yes, he can monetize that. The question then becomes who would be attracted to his particular offer.
That's really where it is. And it's like, you can do whatever you want to do. Can you find somebody that's going to take it?
And to answer his question, yes, he can. You have angel investors. You have individuals like family offices that actually have individuals that have different tastes, because the investor has to see a value in the deal. So if he took the structure that he's talking about, and yes, that can be done. Because again, on the private side, the SEC does not look at the private placement memorandum whatsoever. But yes, to answer the comment, it can be done.
Okay.
There was
Okay.
another comment that an individual have control of. Let's see here.
If my 50/50 silver bonds being traded at T row price, can you help me liquidate it? I don't understand what that means.
I'm sort of understanding it. That would have to be a much clearer definition of the 50/50 silver bonds. But yeah, we'd have to get a little bit more clear on that question if you could.
They do. You can also see through the DTC participant terminal system restricted deposit service deposit type 21. They show you how to deposit court cases. You can also see through. You can also see through the DTC participant terminal system restricted deposit service deposit type 21. They show you how to deposit court cases. I'm not understanding that. Okay, as trustee, you have interest in any financial transaction on the estate listed as a beneficiary. Okay, so that's getting into some trust terminology. I'm not going to get into that. All I'll say is this, y'all.
But for the trust, I think that's for your class, right?
That is for my class, but I will just say this. I would urge you to take some trust classes. Just take some trust classes because even what with Mr. Brewer, what we're doing is we're showing you the framework of how things actually work, and then allowing you from that to see whether your conception of it fits within that framework. Okay, to show you that you may have your ideas about bonds and securitization. What he is doing is he's showing you the world. He's in this world. He does it. He deals with the DTC. He does. I've been with. I just spent a couple of days with every day. He's doing it every day. Big deals and things like this. So I see him every day talking about. I see him go back and forth with the AI. You know, they got the level of the knowledge on the level of the AI, and I'm just sitting there like, wow. And
yeah, I did have a fight with your Jarvis.
Yeah, the fight with the Jarvis. You and the Jarvis went back and forth, and I'm just sitting there like I didn't understand what they were talking about, but they were talking about huge deals. And
here's what I like. I would like to see in the comment if the individuals that really want to learn about this, I would like to see that because I'm the guest for that.
Right.
I do appreciate everybody's thoughts and comments, and I can't really go outside the framework of how private and public works. I can help individuals that want to understand more about this. This is about your family. Look, this is about learning real facts of life. The individuals that want to stay into the Sarvin space, I appreciate that. I accept that. And I don't even disagree with your thought process, your learning history. It's not what I do. What I do is what I'm invited to help individuals to figure out how to start learning to structure themselves on the private to enhance their family lives, how to build a business, how to raise money, and in the private side. There's so many investors. If you sit down and get it right, well, let me take that back. If you take time to sit down and get it wrong, you'll get it right. But you have an opportunity to really learn something that for a business owner, want to be a business owner, want to get into land development, want to get into apartment building, want to get into building houses, want to get into, you name it. This is for you. And it's not for everybody. Everybody that would think about signing up for the webinar, if it's to get in and have disputes, and of course there's a cost to it, that's fine, but we won't get a chance to cover any disputes. We won't get a chance to cover Sarvin scenarios. That's for other individuals. But if you really want to get to know and understand private placement memorandums, how bonds are structured, how to take your deal and structure it, I'm the person that can help you with that.
Let me say this real quick. I know my mic is out, but I'm looking at the camera because we're running out of time, and it's getting late. So I want to end with this. A lot of you are always asking for a mentor. I have brought you someone. He was reluctant to come on here. He was very reluctant. A long time. I've talked to him about this for weeks. For
A little bit
weeks.
longer than that.
Yeah, longer than that. He didn't want to come on here, but he agreed to. After he kind of checked me out and see, how I move and everything, and he said, okay, I'll help you. But the thing is that we're having a webinar. Okay, the link is in the description. I urge you, if this is something that you're really interested in, because I'm blessed to be able to, be around him, firsthand and see all these things and see, and I'm learning it too myself. We're dealing in he deals internationally with international businesses. And it's rare that you get an opportunity to meet an individual like this. Individuals like this don't present themselves very much. So we have made a webinar. I've convinced him to do a webinar. We have a moderate price for it as well, when it should be have a very, very high ticket price on it. They should have a very, very high ticket price on it. But we made a webinar for you.
And you did put a small ticket price on it.
Well, I made it moderate, but
I respect that when you told me, because I rarely take phone calls from individuals. And I'll be honest with you, I owe it to our community to start. In fact, and you really helped me. Let's talk about this. And I know you got to go. You really helped me to see that it was time to start sharing this. And I've agreed to start a podcast that's going to start teaching individuals and coaching businesses really geared toward the private structuring of private placement bonds. And so your group will be the first group that I'll start working with. And I just want real serious individuals, individuals that want to go hard and want to learn it and willing to apply themselves and take it and do something with it for their families. And it starts local, and it can go international once they learn it.
Let me show them how to register real quick. If you look on your screen, okay, I'm going to show you how to register for it. There are two ways you can register for it tonight. This is SBC University. You can go over to SBC University and go to the shop page, and there it is right there, private placement and DTC structures. Or you can go in the YouTube video. If you go to the YouTube video, because somebody said the link don't work, I just clicked on the link and it works fine. Here it is right here. All right, if you go on the link, well, that's not it. It's the other one. If you go on the link in the, go to my channel real quick. All right, so here it is right here. So this is the actual video that we are looking at right now. So go down here in the chat. It says webinar registration. Click on that. And as you can see, boom, it's going to pop right up. So I'm not sure why he said the link doesn't work. It's right down there under the video, private placement DTC structures. This is an introductory type of class. Listen, y'all, I'm going to tell you something. Don't too many opportunities like this present themselves. And I would strongly suggest that if you're really interested, if you really want to know about bonds, if you really want to know about, get a foot in and start trying to understand, well, what is going on with my criminal case? Well, we're going to give you the framework to really understand how this stuff really operates. That's where I'm at. I'm not on this train where there's a lot of speculation and conjecture and things like that, and echo chambers, and people profess to know these things and they've never, like somebody's talking about, well, this is how you deposit a court case. Well, I would ask you, have you ever deposited a court case? Have you done that? I brought you an individual who has done this. I have seen this. Okay. This is not anything. This is not made up fantasy or anything like that. I've been talking about this individual for years. People who've been following me, but This is a person who actually has done it, has experience and expertise. Okay, so it's not any of this other stuff that you're talking about. So if you are interested in learning about a space where they deal in bonds and securities and the DTC and ISIN numbers and CUSIP numbers and private placement memorandums and prospectus, and you want to understand all these things, now is the time and now is the opportunity for you to do that.
And we've scheduled this on Wednesday the 15th
yes,
at
it is
7
scheduled
p.m.
for Wednesday the 15th. It's on Wednesday the 15th, so we've scheduled it ahead of time. It's not anytime soon. So we're giving you a heads up. It's going to be next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So the link is down in the description. When you make your purchase, there will be a link that is provided for you to register for the webinar. And it's going to be next week. Limited seating. I think we got 100 seats or something like that. So you want to get your space as soon as possible because we are expecting a very big turnout for this because this is one of those topics that everybody is wanting to know about, in particular with this space. And so this is my way of extending to you. Okay, look, you want to know about bonds, you want to know about securitization, you want to know what a CUSIP number really does and really is, you want to know what ISIN numbers, you want to understand international trade, you got your mentor right here. I brought you a mentor.
And let's talk about the value of it. You have an opportunity, again, to do something that most people don't get to do. So at the end of the day, make sure that you really want to learn. You're willing to dive into this. And again, this is not backed by any trickery. This is not any movement. This is real public or private scenarios. And that's what you'll be learning. And if you can take advantage of that, then I really think you're the person to get in it. If this is not for you, you can't afford it. I understand that. And it's not for everybody. I'll just say that it is not for everybody. It's only for a select few. And those are the few that I want to come in there and learn this space.
All right. Okay, y'all, with that, I'm going to end it. I want to apologize for the audio. I'm going to try to do this and edit this, and I'm going to do another video on this and do this show. We kind of did this on the, we were experimenting with some things, but I'm the audio. I apologize for the audio, y'all, but I really wanted you to get this information. And so check out, I want you to like, comment. We didn't get a chance to answer everybody's comments, but if you want to put a comment down under the video, okay, Mr. Brewer may come through and actually answer, because he did see some comments last time that he found interesting.
Yes.
That's a pretty interesting comment.
Absolutely.
That the individual had. So if you want to, make sure you comment under this video, okay? And like, comment, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to be doing a lot of videos like this in the future.
And those real quick, those that are going to get in the class, and I'm sure if the link's not working, it will be working. But put those comments if you're joining the class and you have comments. That way we can really be pre-prepared to answer a lot of those questions in the webinar and preempt getting those answers for you guys. But I really appreciate your time. Hey, it was a pleasure coming.
Hey, this is going to be the webinar of the year, y'all. You have no idea. Hey, look, you know what? I get an opportunity to sit in the audience and be a student. I'm a student with this. I know about a lot. I know a lot of things, but I know nothing about, I've sat and watched all of this, and I'm like, okay, I'm back in the student position now. So I'm going to be in the audience with you.
And I did see one comment. People asked about my socials. I'm not really a social person. I'm really a private person. And at some point, I'm going to learn to be social. And I promise you in the future, I'll get you a Instagram or a Facebook. But right now, let's stay private, okay? I'll see you soon.
All right, y'all. With that, class is about to start. All my students, Get your behind over to the class right now. Class is about to start, all right?
It was a
Okay,
pleasure.
thank you, Mr. Brewer.
It
I
was a pleasure.
appreciate it. And hey, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace. Have a nice